Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody, and welcome. It is August 25th at 6:08, and this is the Executive Committee of Manhattan Community Board 1. We run one executive committee in the month of August for people who are new, including Pam, who's here with us today. The way this works is we run one time-sensitive meeting in August that tries to scoop everything together. Any actions taken at the board today will be done, filed, and then ratified at the full board in September. This is my last executive meeting as chair of Community Board 1. My vice chair, Alice Blank, takes over on September 1st. So in absence for a long agenda and trying to get things moving quickly, let's hit it. And we're going to welcome Susan Starr and the team from Tunnel to Towers.
Great. Hello. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us back. So my name is Susan Starr, and I service the planning, production, and logistics for the Tunnel to Towers New York City line. I believe it was July 27th. You so graciously allowed us to convene with you to let you know that because of the Battery Park City Resiliency Project, our run will be changed this year. We have worked with NYPD and gotten a lot of input. And so I'm happy that we're able to pregame with you guys on July 27th. So we're back just to give you an overview of the event itself, and then to circle back on the new run route and make sure that we're doing the best that we can to be gracious guests in your community.
We have your
And our slides. So let's just go right to this part. So I love looking at it, and I hope it's beneficial to you as well, looking at the run route side by side. So on the left is the run route that we've had, I believe, for 24 years, certainly since I've been here in 2015. So this is from out of the UL Perry Tunnel, take a right on West Street, head over to the Esplanade via Liberty, come out on Warren, and then circle back on West and end at West and Murray. Since the Esplanade will now be under construction through at least 2030, the new run route is on the right. So obviously a change after 24 years, which I don't like change, but we are aiming for taking this as an opportunity to make it better. So the footprint, as you can see in the new proposed run route, is much more concise. In addition, in working with NYPD, one of the things that concerned us, especially as it impacted Battery Park City in the past, was that when the run route went over to the Esplanade previously, there were a lot of residents that were getting locked in for a couple of hours. It's my understanding, and I don't live here, but I'm looking at the map and have discussed it thoroughly. They've worked really hard in NYPD to help us come up with something that eliminates that. So now if you're over in that area where it was deadlocked on River Terrace, around Murray, Warren, you can get out. So everybody should be able to get out either north or get out south. So that's one thing that I really like about this, and I wanted to point that out to you. In addition, what I hope, and I don't know for sure until we're through it for the first time, but because the run route is much wider, going up west, northbound on west, circling back and ending at the same place, I'm hoping that actually we can be much more efficient when we execute this event and get the streets cleared even sooner. So 2 o'clock is always the goal for getting the West Side Highway, West Street to be open. I'm hoping we can run it even quicker. So that's the.
I'm curious, is it all on West Street?
It's all in West.
So you're going up the uptown side and down the downtown side?
Yes.
Good.
And if they don't have any concerns, obviously this looks like a reduction. If are you starting the finish line,
Slightly.
starting line further on this distance, doesn't matter much. It's not a 5K necessarily.
It's not a sanctioned 5K, so it's approximately a 5K. It's much more of a memorial walk run. It's almost 3.1, it's about 3.1. So, no, we're not concerned, we're told about the impact on the community.
All right.
Anybody else around the
Got it.
table have questions? I have one. We're still doing the event on Vesey Street, correct? So the questions that had, God bless you, in the past, in terms of community impact, were, is the bike lane going to be closed again this year?
No.
Okay, so then that means that the med tents and things like that, that had normally been set up on Bessie and Liberty and places like that, where would those be this time?
It should be on the sidewalk. Nothing should be in the bike lane.
Okay, fantastic. And people will be able to go up North End Avenue to exit out Chambers, which will be a definite real improvement. I can't think of anything else as long as you have the same things that we did before on Bessie, which has been a long-standing improvement, which is as you come out of Brookfield, you're able to get to the ball fields by crossing through Goldman Alley. And the ball fields will be unimpacted other than attempting to cross the West Side Highway. Correct. And will they allow at any point people to cross the west side? You know, pedestrians?
If I understand correctly, and I don't want to answer that the wrong way, it seems that they want people to not cross the one route, and I mean, has that been the case in the past?
It didn't affect it because the run route went by the water. So West Side Highway, while closed to cars, you could cross at Bessie and you could cross at Murray. In this manner, we will not, there'll be no crossings. It's like that.
Except further up.
It
Further
changed.
up.
So you can't cross it all.
There's definitely a chambers, and I would think that it would probably have a lot to do with where the pickup run is.
So that would be my only concern and question is to be able to do like they do at the American Heart Association. They do make an accommodation to allow people to cross the road when they can because it's a very long route. And for this, for people getting to the ball fields, because there will be games that day, there's only one side of Chambers that's a legal crosswalk, which is the south side. So it's a little bit, I mean, yes, people can go up through the walkway and back down through the elevators if the elevators are working and things. But it's not as robust of a cross. So my thought process would be to talk to NYPD if the run ends at Murray, right? Somehow to find a way to make some kind of a crossing possible a little bit south, if at all. Because otherwise there's no way to cross the West Side Highway between Albany and Warren.
Some of it is so cool, but it's- Go to Liberty Park, and I just take it out and stuff.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should be telling the community that they need to go underground or above ground to take the walkways.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's only until 2 o'clock. Right? Yeah,
It's sports teams is all I'm thinking of.
but they can go underground like they were saying. I mean,
Or up
it's actually easier.
So it's Chambers or underground.
Yeah. So if you're amenable and it's acceptable, I think it would be great if we could to just advise people that that is a guaranteed way of passage. And I'm looking at my PD tomorrow with all the agencies actually, with boroughs, Brooklyn and Manhattan. And certainly can discuss with the first precinct about just making sure that if you can get across, not.
PPCA should be able to do messaging directly to the leagues that they permit with. They know who is on the field during those days, and they should be able to push out messaging directly to the teams and to the people who are using the fields.
So no one's frustrated.
Correct.
Couple of things. If this route works out, which we all hope it does, can we keep it that way? Seriously, instead of impacting the people who live in Battery Park City.
It won't be here in 23rd.
I won't be here in rains.
Huh?
I live on the road.
Yeah,
When I-
but a lot of other people may not.
I'm not sitting on road.
But you know, like.
Oh, I'll be here in 23rd, just not
Here.
here.
Well, think about it.
I'm gonna be on vacation with one of these ladies. All right, but yeah, so those would be the considerations to make sure that, I'd like to do a resolution if we can, because we've done this before to support, this is brand new run route. So we would pull the old resolutions that we've used with the new route. We would support the new route, but with the caveat that we'd like to ensure that if possible, NYPD finds a way to allow people to cross the West Side Highway at different points. Right, and if not, would you be amenable to having detour signs up for pedestrians?
Of course.
And they're terrific, the first precinct, by the way, they've been getting out for you guys.
They are.
So I'll be with, Officer Ford tomorrow.
Perfect. So, yeah, so our things would be to have detour signs for pedestrians, right? We'd like you to work with the BPCA for messaging to the permitted groups that are on the field.
So
Andrew, if I remember correct, that is DSL. So that's, it's the, like,
Sorry, yeah.
like, what season are we at? Yeah, so that would be.
Yeah,
downtown.
it's downtown soccer league, and I've made a note to reach out that they should communicate how families need to access the fields on that day.
Right. And I think the downtown, alliance could maybe be helpful because their downtown alliance bus will be affected during that time as well. Yeah, because do we know if they're gonna allow traffic on Warren at all?
Warren. I don't believe so, because it's been across the runway.
In prior years, I don't believe they have.
Okay. So yeah, so it'll just be about having the downtown alliance notified also please of the new route because they'll have to adjust their bus. The bus might be able to go in Chambers, out Warren potentially, or loop the North End Avenue loop to go in and out. But it won't be able to service anything otherwise in Battery Park City that day.
Downtown Connect.
I know where I live, that street is on parking.
Yeah.
So there's no way down, there anybody who's drive down the road, they can parking lot. Might be back there.
Okay, great. Anybody have anything else to add for this, for routes, for traffic, for pedestrians, for anybody? Okay, fantastic. So, those are all the notes and we appreciate you coming now so we can give the feedback.
Call the question on the resolution.
Thank you. We'll do a vote by affirmation, so assuming everybody's a yes to approve this, are there any in opposition? Thank you. Hearing and seeing none in opposition, are there any abstentions or recusals? Fantastic, motion passes. Thank you very much. We wish you a very successful run.
Bye.
And thank you for always working with the community. You're one of the most responsive organizations around the 9/11 things that has really worked with us. So thank you.
It's our pleasure, Stephanie and I appreciate your time and
Yeah.
thanks for letting us come back.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks,
so
Stephanie.
much.
All right, moving along. All right, let's Elizabeth Berger Park and Washington Street artwork signage. This was a discussion that started in waterfront parks and cultural. There's been a lot of topics of conversation. I'd love to welcome Jennifer Lensis.
Yeah.
If you can, Desi, would you mind moving your stuff so she can come on and sit by the table? You should have done that for Susan, but sorry about that. No. Alrighty, well, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little presentation just to provide some additional context in terms of what are historical signs in the Parks Department. I'm from the Art and Antiquities Office at Parks. We primarily program temporary public art. We care for the permanent monuments and artworks in our collection. But we also have this other task of drafting and editing the historical signs around the agency. So before we get into the content of like this specific historical sign that was brought up, I wanted to give everyone kind of a bit of an awareness because not everyone knows what this program is. Generally, they are signs that bring information to the public about, you know, the history of the site before it was a park, how it became a park, and then if there is a proper namesake, who that namesake was or the event that it's named after. You might recognize these. They're at the entrance of most of our parks. They are used to identify park features and park properties. This includes monuments, artworks, and memorials. The design of our historic signs have actually undergone PDC approval, but the content itself does not require Public Design Commission approval. It is all considered temporary. It's just printed in-house, at our 5 borough, operations, on 1/8-inch fiberboard. Really, it's a very low-cost solution, to accommodate kind of regular changes because our parks are regularly changing and undergoing construction. Vandalism occurs quite often on these, tagging, stickers. But also as we learn more, public information is getting more and more accessible through the libraries, and more research can be done. So we update the content as we're able to. So they're really all in perpetual stages of editing as these things change. Next. The historical sign concept actually came under former Commissioner Henry Stern when he saw History in Asphalt. I don't know if anyone knows this book. It is fabulous if you're into Bronx history. He essentially was like, why don't we have this for parks? So in 1999, he announced that we were going to create a historical sign for every park in the city by 2001. Took on a slew of interns and park staff to do so. The signs were primarily drafted after that initial push by the parks historian and the parks librarian. Those lines have since been discontinued. So those have fallen now to the Department of Art and Antiquities. We have no dedicated full-time staff to the historic signs. So really we're working with the resources that we have and the time that we are allowed to do these edits, updates, and drafting. Next. This is just showing when Parks was first rebranded, I think it was around 2015 or 2012. We initially went to PDC with the historical sign design. Most recently, it was updated in 2022 to follow a kind of a certain template. Next. We have approximately 2,500 historical signs that are in various stages of completion or exhibition. They are typically for parks and playgrounds. Those are an 18 by 24 sign that can accommodate about 550 words. And park features, sometimes those are 18 by 24 as well. More often they are 12 by 18, about 250. So we have a lot of information that has to be said in a very short, succinct way. And these are just some examples of historic signs within our parks, at different memorials and different artworks, just to give you a sense and kind of help identify what these objects are. I think that's the last of just like the background. So first, before I get into the details of this particular sign at Elizabeth Burger Plaza, does anyone have any questions about, or more broadly, the signage program?
Not a question, a comment, that's a lot of reading.
It is a lot of reading.
So is there any thought to a QR code so people can go
So,
home or someplace else?
yeah,
print it out and read it? A
so
lot of information.
it is a lot of information. And I think that the city is starting to catch up on the use of QR codes. But QR codes are limiting for those who don't have access to technology or phones, and there are still those individuals. It also is, to be honest, a rather, there's a safety concern in terms of the use of QR codes. People throw stickers for QR codes that will bring you to illicit sites and obtain material, things like that. So the city is still very wary of putting QR codes out there because they can be misused, misleading, and not everybody has access.
Is there a website listing?
So all of our historical signs are available on the Parks Department's website. So every park has its own page, and within that page, it gives you like what is at that park. It gives you the history. So the historical sign, it gives you what monuments are in that park, what are the capital projects in that park. So anyone can go online and find this information. It's also, our historical sign pages are some of the most visited actual pages of our website. And luckily they're evergreen. We can alter those as needed as we update.
So that information is on the sign so that
Yeah.
people can go there?
The website itself is not, it's a very long, but if you just Google, Coast Guard Memorial, it will automatically bring you there.
Okay.
I particularly want to say thank you, and I appreciate you putting two signs from the Battery. There's one, immediately I recognize there's one over by the Coast Guard, by the Coast Guard Memorial that's there, that's by the Coast Guard Station, Battery Park, and the one that's over by Pier A. So thank you.
I mean,
for-
they're kind of in a moment, well, the Pier A one is not
Kind of
quite
like-
there, right?
right there,
Yes,
but-
I know.
I love quiet.
I know, it's missing at the moment,
Yeah.
but it actually shows what was public access space. So, yeah. Really kind of funny, so thank you for using it.
I know, it wasn't intentional. But,
You don't have to take credit. Yes,
I was thinking about this.
Placemaking, yeah.
But so, to give you some general context, we recently worked with the Washington Street Historical Society to unveil a new memorial downtown, called Al Kalam, Poets in the Park, by Sarah Owadu. And, that memorial, I won't go into the full detail, but it is, a multi-piece installation that pays homage to the historic neighborhood of Little Syria downtown on Washington Street. In working with, as with many of our monuments, memorials, and permanent works, we usually create a parks historical sign, a feature sign. And so we work very closely with Linda Jacobs, who was the former president of Washington Street Historical Society and a very accomplished academic, and has published on the topic of historic Little Syria downtown to generate the text to provide some historical context for the artwork. She drafted the original. We, of course, Parks edited because we have a certain kind of voice and tone. We have a whole historic science manual. So we did make some edits, but they were largely grammatical or for ease of understanding. And that was put up. The Parks Department actually did not receive that much in the way of communication or correspondence officially, concerned about the content of the sign. However, Washington Street did start to receive quite a bit of feedback from the broader community of descendants of the Little Syria historic neighborhood, the broader diaspora, concerned that a lot of the language that was used in the original sign referred to broadly Syrians or little, which at the time is how the community identified themselves, but in contemporary terms that can be misleading or confusing. Parks was approached by Washington Street asking to make some edits to that original signage. They proposed edits. We made, again, some kind of grammatical edits and things like that, but the signage was put up. And I understand that there are some concerns about kind of the existing sign. I think that as of right now, while we aren't changing the sign immediately, it's not something that we are against, and we're thankful for all of I believe it was Todd Fine who brought the information to the community board, all of his feedback and information, and we can sit with that, look it over, and consider how to best move forward, because it is a really sensitive topic, and we only have 550 words to address this very complicated layered history. But I'm here to answer questions that the community board might have about kind of how the signage took place and developed over time, and hopefully answer any questions.
Thanks. I have just a question. I wanted to, if we wanted to answer was the process that has to happen in order to change a sign. Can you just, what is the voting process as far as?
I mean, it's primarily those, at the agency and the Department of Antiquities. We look at what the kind of primary, first, as any academic would, you look at your primary sources, secondary sources, and then determine, what are appropriate. We don't have, like I said, we don't even have a full-time staff person. So we don't necessarily have a committee of academics that could weigh in, and nor do we have the capacity to do that. Because if we do it for one, we would have to do that for all of our signs, which is 2,500 signs in the collection. And that would really stress us pretty tightly, but we look for kind of those the evidence and the research, and then we make the determination.
But if a sign, if someone sees a sign that they feel is an error, some discovery is made, not this sign, but
Yeah.
the other sign. The process would be to contact Parks and say, this sign needs something.
Yeah, I mean,
Accurate, can we change this? And then this money is coming out of the Parks budget, or how does that get? Or how does?
so if someone reaches out and they're like, oh, I noticed, I mean, even if it's like a misspelling, to be honest. They'll flag it for us. Often it comes in through like 311 or the broad correspondence, which makes its way to Art and Antiquities. We have that individual's information and we usually will approach them and be like, can you provide us with your sources? And if those sources are vetted and academically sound, we will make those edits. It gets, the Word document gets updated, it gets sent to our marketing team, which has to redesign the sign. And then it gets sent to the sign shop as part of just the general budget of like operating costs for creating signage.
And that process might take 6 months, a year.
It depends on the scale or importance of the error, or if it's like a slight misspelling, it gets added to our queue. On average, I'd say because we don't have a full-time staff member dedicated to this, and we have had a lot of staff turnover in our design team. And we have a queue of around 500 signs that are in editing that need to be edited. On average, I'd say it takes maybe 6 months to make the change from the time that we make the change to the time that you see it in the park. But if there's some like really egregious information, then we have the ability to turn it around in like maybe a month or so. I mean, parks would typically just take down the sign if it was like something that is truly offensive.
Let's go to Andrew first, the chair of the Parks. Andrew?
So first off, thanks for joining us tonight and thanks for that summary. The version of events that came before us were a bit more detailed and nuanced than perhaps what we're discussing at the moment, but I'm not sure we need to get into that. What Todd has proposed is a process of review that holds up to scrutiny and provides more transparency. I think he's proposed the notion of some kind of a review committee that consists of historians and academia to assist with that. I'd like to get your initial thoughts on something like that. And I hear you about the Parks Department having limited resources, but I would have to think somewhere across the New York City resources, there are historians that might be available to participate in something like this. But I'd like to understand, how will you go about reviewing and determining the factual integrity which has been challenged by Todd and team?
So in terms of creating and establishing that committee, I think one, to be perfectly frank, we don't have the administrative capacity to put that together, because while yes, we could find individuals to do that, it would require, like I said, kind of a equitable approach to all of our signs to do that, and every sign has a different focus or Can you guys hear us? Can you hear us, Vicky or Andy? Let me check the chat.
Christmas amazing. She's. Yeah. She did. But even better than.
Looks fine. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay. All right, so we're
I,
just
I
gonna
lit-
have to
I
go-
literally, I
We have to go
literally
fast,
lost
fast.
the meeting when
Stop.
Park started to respond to my
Getting
question.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, can you hear us clearly right now?
I can, this is Andrew, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay.
So. You want to find them that one?
This is on Wi-Fi, that's on the hard line.
Can we put that one on Wi-Fi?
Oh, no.
So you're
It's
on,
hard line. No.
Can you make me a co-host?
I did. You are actually the host right now. Yes.
Okay. For those of us who are, for those of you online, please note that we're having some tech issues in the room. The Wi-Fi in the building went down, the hardwired, so we're fixing it. I see hands up, just please be patient.
Just speak, don't unmute yours.
Just, so if everybody heard me, we are going to try working off a laptop, old school this way, all right? Group chat is on the dark chat, maybe speaking here as a guest, okay. All right, Bob Madley, thank you for replying, I appreciate that. And it's not. Somehow it's set up. Turn on my hotspot. Hotspot is wrong. Why not? Hotspot. But I've got internet on both Wi-Fi. It's okay, just go to movie book the art. All right, so, yeah. You don't have. Okay. It's okay. Sorry, it's long enough. It's long enough. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Are you gonna wrap the owls into it? Great. And I can run the presentation off my laptop. There you go. All right. We're back up. This is awesome.
I don't know when I got lost.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it.
Pretty bad.
You're not lost.
Okay. Yeah, you're not lost, you're found, so we're good. So let's, I know that we have some people in the attendees section. I'm gonna put them up. If you'd raise your hand, if you want to speak on this topic about the Elizabeth Berger Park, that would be fantastic. Bob Madley, I'm about to put you up. Thank you. All right, so first we're gonna have Todd Fines go and then Bob Madley in that order from online. You can unmute yourselves, you've both been raised as panelists.
Yes, I just wanted to add that Paula Hajar, who's the current president of the Washington Street Historical Society, said in an interview in Tribeca Trib a week ago that she was open to having the sign revised. So that combined with the Parks Department saying that they're, I guess, in principle, open to having the sign revised. And in this meeting, neither the Parks Department or the Historical Society objecting to any of the points that were raised. You know, at this point, you would think that if there was a problem with my presentation, they would be challenging the points raised. It's worthy of the of the community board to push for a revision. This is, you know, these are serious points, and I feel it is very harmful to people to have a sign that's inaccurate and in some ways insulting. So I would encourage the community board to consider asking for a rewrite and affirming that potential.
Thank you, Todd. I will tell you, we did receive a letter from Linda Jacobs, which was shared here. I'll share it online shortly, that they recommending the sign remain as it stands and hope it will continue to spark discussion in the coming years. And that's dated August 13th. I don't know if anything has changed from that point or not.
She has resigned from the board, so I don't. That's important to be aware of. So.
Okay. Go ahead.
I did want to clarify, at least as I understand it, Paula is speaking personally and not on behalf of the Washington Street Historical Society. So I do want to also, that there are these layered, certain personal opinions and Washington Street. And I think one thing that would be really helpful, because we only found out about Todd, your presentation, which was very informative in a very roundabout way from the community board. And it would be really helpful to get that information directly from you so that we are able to kind of look at your sources, look at your specific kind of items that you brought up to the community board, because then we much more informed decisions, and that would go a long way for kind of continuing this discussion.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Yeah, happy to do that.
thank you, Todd. We'll go to the next speaker. Todd, I think that follow-up means that you should be sending your information to the Parks Department directly. Okay. Bob Madley, maybe?
Hi, there I am. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Thanks for showing up for this. I attended the last meeting. I think my sentiments are well known, as my grandfather is one of the writers who's represented at the memorial. And I'm right behind Todd, former chair of the board of Washington Street. Jennifer, I have a question. What would suffice as far as input from scholars or historians? Does it have to go directly through Washington Street as the sponsor of this monument? Or is it a unique situation where a committee or a group can be put together to generate a revision?
No, I mean, well, Parks typically, in terms of like creating a committee, that would have to be, if we have the resources, Parks would have to do that work, and all of our signs are drafted by Parks. We don't allow outside entities to kind of work independently of us. But and I've only had an opportunity just because of the summer season, and when we found out about the presentation materials, really what we're looking for is kind of the identification of the materials that you have concerns about, and then providing us with, the academic sources that you're quoting. I'd like to think that we are responsible, educated individuals in our office who all have high level of degrees and understand what it means to write in terms of art historical capacity at the very least. So once we have that, and I can't really opine because I just haven't gotten deep into the materials yet, and we've been everywhere because it's been the summer season, so we haven't had a chance to convene. But once I have those materials, I can, I can see what the credibility of those materials are. Is it an oral history? Is it, a documented, published, history and resources? And we are able to make, a very educated determination what is appropriate. And if there are things that would be better off edited, then we can definitely consider that. But I just can't say right now just because I don't have that material in front of me.
No, sure. So it doesn't necessarily have to, and hopefully it would, but it doesn't have to come from Washington Street, that information.
No, we,
Okay.
as with any historical sign, we're always looking at many different resources
Mhm.
to make an educated, decision on that material that goes.
I don't know, I was kind of privy to some of the backstory about how all of this pushback on the original signage came about. And it was very political, and it really emanated from Lebanon, which is disconcerting. And I think the revisions that came about were also politically motivated, and in response to that pushback from Lebanon, and that does involve Washington Street. But that's just a little bit of backstory, and I'm happy to elaborate at another time. But that you're open to receiving information and scholastic materials in order to revise is helpful. And then, yeah, whether it includes Washington Street or not, I don't think they're prepared right now in their present makeup to be able to deal with this historical subject.
Okay.
There's been a lot of folks who have left that
Well,
could speak to this. Yep.
Thank you, Bob, very much. Betty is going to go first, and then Pat.
Hey, I feel like I came into the middle of a private conversation.
yeah.
Nobody's talking about what the real point
Right,
is.
exactly.
What I came about. It's a continuation of some private, ongoing argument.
Right.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But given what I read in the Record Tribune, one of the things I got out of it from the change was getting rid of some of the anachronistic titles for geographic areas. Personally, as someone who does a lot of work with genealogy, given the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the one thing that comes over and over again from the consumer is, so is that a German state? Is it now Germany? Oh, that's now Poland. Oh, that's now, they want to know what it is now. Getting these all historical, but all means inclusion if you want, but the bottom line is the person who's coming by and reading it wants to know now known as. That's my 2 cents.
I mean, I pretty much, I'm with you, but I feel like I've fallen from Mars. I don't know what are we supposed to be determining here?
Well, I think the question is where the community board wants to sit. Andrew can add more light on this.
What does it mean? Where do we want to sit?
Where do we want to be requesting from the Parks Department that we want them to, fix the signage, change the signage, whatever the case may be?
But we don't have enough information. We don't know.
So from sorry, if I can just jump in here, from my perspective, and again, my perspective, others may have different views. We had someone come before us and walk us through a process that resulted in a change of a historical sign at the park. And my takeaway from that was we wanted to hear from Parks as to what their process is in terms of creating these historical signs, how they engage with historians or scholars to evaluate and assess. And given that we did receive comments from an organization that there wasn't transparency, and from this organization's perspective or this group's perspective, the changes created factual inaccuracies as to the historical perspective. We wanted to bring Parks in to understand what's the process for reviewing and assessing the position that was brought before the community board. I don't think the community board's in any position to weigh in on whether the changes are correct or accurate, should be changed or not, but rather someone took the time to come before us, present their case, and we wanted to hear from Parks what their position was and their process for reviewing and addressing. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but that's where I'm coming from.
So we've heard their position.
So I guess
So can we just ask for controversial signs that have controversial messaging, have a group of scholars look at it? They're facts, right? And it seems like here, if you just add a map and date the map from whenever, it's gonna solve the issue. No one's gonna.
We have some limitations in terms of illustrations on our signs per PDC.
Well, but
Like,
not all your signs do have controversial messaging. This one does.
It's
The
the same
community is.
But I think that's someone that's addressing, yeah, it's hard
So
because some
here's
things that people don't think
It's
are.
not
Okay.
so simple.
right, so there's a conversation of who thinks it's controversial and who doesn't. Is the signage better because it's not what was the word, anachronistic because it's current day, and whatever the land is today, they're from Lebanon, they're not from Syria.
But the original sign had all that information.
Right, so it's
It's
unclear as
the
to
wording
why.
of how you describe it. It's the same words. It mentions Lebanon and whatnot in the original. language.
But there's some issue around.
I understand there's some
Okay,
mysterious.
Syrian and immigrants, I
understand.
understand.
I mean, I think one thing that we welcome, and like I said, I think I got the ultimately the material that was presented a couple weeks after it was presented and it was shared through the community board. I think that Todd, if you can provide that with us, directly. I don't know if you have my email. I know you have Jonathan's, who is our director. He is out on vacation for the next several weeks. That came through the community board,
Okay.
just a couple of weeks ago, but we've been on vacation and vacation. So
So
I
I think-
haven't, I don't know that all of it has the kind of, what I'm asking for, like your sources for these various items. But once I can see what those changes are and the sources or the kind of issue with those items, then we can directly respond at Parks, but it would be really good for us to actually get that information directly.
Yeah, I think.
And then we can make that assessment.
I mean, sitting here, having been in this neighborhood for 30 years, it being called Little Syria, I think one of the issues that I saw that kind of I understood where the question and conversation, when you say immigrants from Greater Syria, which encompassed modern day Lebanon, Syria, and historic Palestine, I had no issues with that writing. Now it says mostly from Lebanon and others from Syria and historic Palestine. But the neighborhood at the time was called Little Syria because they were from what was considered then the Greater Syria. So I understand where the controversy is coming from because it's sort of a weird, it wasn't ever called Little Lebanon as far as I'm aware.
No.
Jeff,
Sort of another middle of the movie question.
yeah.
So as I understand,
It just is that way.
it was once worded as the original. It's now worded as the revised. And Todd Fine and friends want yet a third wording, or are they asking for the original to be resurrected?
Has the original been changed yet?
Yes,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah,
Oh, the original was changed.
There was the original and then Walking
whitewash.
Street approached us to make some edits
Right.
and then that was recreated and now we're being approached about a revised version of that one.
Going back, it's Jeff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a
One-
direct recreation or if it's more just working on a better sign
I mean, one
altogether.
thing that hasn't been brought up is that the foreign ministry of Lebanon, the foreign minister, made several statements online about this at the highest levels of the Lebanese government, and it was publicized widely throughout the Middle East in many newspapers and TV shows. So this was a very controversial issue
Why?
in the Middle
Why,
East.
what, I don't understand why. Explain
Because it wasn't only the phrasing about Little Syria, there was a phrasing that was included in the original draft that also said the word Syrian writers, which I think was a little bit provocative because it implied some of the national figures of Lebanon, like Khalil Gibran, which should be considered Syrian and perhaps not Lebanese. But it became a very large controversy in the Middle East. And the Parks Department removed the sign just 3 weeks after installing it. So what I'm confused at is why, knowing this was so controversial, and that the revisions seemed so slanted toward one perspective, why there wasn't an attempt to get a neutral scholarly perspective, which in fact, I appealed to Jonathan Kuhn, the director of parks, to make sure that it was a scholarly neutral after it was taken down, but that wasn't what happened. The new sign is very politicized. So yes.
Todd, so here's where I think you should do. You've
Yeah.
sent us the historical sign original and revised text. I'm asking you to please send that to Parks with a copy to us. Please also include all of your sources in there. You know, recognizing that Linda is a scholar, although she's no longer a part of the Washington Street Association. Got it, understand it. It definitely needs to have some review. And if you can send who the scholars are, all the sources and notations to Parks with a copy to us, then they can have a holistic look at it. And I think that they can, you know, have a full-throated perspective. Please include also any news reporting, whether it was local or international, that directly relates to it. Because we do want to cut through the politics just to the facts and find something that works for New York City and Community Board 1. This is not about what's playing in the media in any other place. It is about what's going to work for the Parks Department, for the immigrants who were here, the families of the people, and the rest of it, that were all here at the time, which is what the whole thing is designed. Does that sound fair?
No, I
So
think
what
that's
is- so what do we
that's
have to-
reasonable.
Yep. Before I go to you, Bob,
What do you need us to do? What is?
I don't think we need a resolution on this.
Right.
No.
I don't think we need, I think
No.
the Parks Department is here. I think they're open.
Thank you.
I think they're willing. I appreciate Todd bringing this to us. I think having another, we could do it as a small meeting and an update. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But Todd, the basic point is, and Bob, if you have anything that you want to, with scholarly information and
Mhm.
sources, please do the same thing. Please send it to the Parks Department with a copy to the community board. We're delighted to follow the issue. And we want to just make sure that all the notations and actual sources are posted. Desi, and then, oh no, Bob and then Desi. Bob, does that work?
Yeah, that works. Thank you. The last thing I'd like to say, just to throw it in there, is that, an interesting thing, and I'll make sure it's included, is how these writers referred to themselves to Syria and to Lebanon. And I think will be very telling as well, and needs to be acknowledged. So there you go.
Okay.
All righty.
Like all other things, it's a source and a consideration. So I appreciate you coming. Thank you very much, Bob and Todd. And I'm going to boot you both back down to attendees, please. And Linda was not here, but I do want to represent the information she sent. And the letter was handed out in the community board. It says, I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I was asked to give my opinion about the present signage connected to the art installation, where she names it. When I wrote the original version of the signage with its depiction of the Arab-speaking community on Washington Street as Syrian, the board of the Washington Street Historical Society, in response to feedback from the community, voted to change it to the text that is there now. The final version was historically.
Oh, the first version.
The first version, pardon me, was historically accurate, and the second part version is not inaccurate and simply eliminates some of the now anachronistic language.
For the accurate versus the not inaccurate.
I've
Not
wanted to-
inaccurate, right.
Right. So I recommend the sign remain as it stands and hope it will continue to spark discussion in the coming years. The nice thing is there's a sign in the park, there's language in the park. There can also be language on the website. So the Parks Department has many opportunities to find some type of a solution. I've asked everybody who has a thought to send you all the information, and we look forward to hearing an update of what you've decided. Betty,
Can I say whichever version there is, whether it's just on the website, something that is not anachronistic, it is today's designations, because that's what the people reading it are for today, and they want to know.
Both versions or,
Well, that's,
Well, no,
or
I don't
accurate in
think we
that
need to
respect.
be here.
that, we don't,
the borders move over time.
if you have a perspective, please write to the Parks Department. Because I'm one who believes that you should have, I am of the original text with a modern call out, you know, the way they had it originally that
Right.
said what was considered Greater Sierra, which is now
Right.
A, B, and C. Because yes, I am, you know, if for anybody who's been, you know, whether my heritage is Lithuanian or Polish is left up to debate depending on where the landline was. So I am
Hungarian or Romanian.
right, exactly. So, I mean, at the time, the people were where they were. The
That's
people
right.
now are where they are now. It's just different. Does it do anything to add?
I just-
Close it out.
I just have a question. What is the final say on this? Who has
The
the
Parks
final?
Department has the the Parks Department had the first and the last say. They have always had that. And we are trying to help the community have their voices heard for the Parks Department. The Parks Department will figure out what they can do. There are budgets, time, and wording. So it could be that they choose to change the sign. They could choose to change the website. They could choose to change both or none. And we will look forward once everyone has sent their.
I'll keep you on your toes.
All right, there we go.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Downtown Skyport. Yes,
Goodbye, sweetie.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Hey,
no, goodbye.
fantastic. Thank you, Jennifer. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you, Darren.
It's so cute. It's true. It was Hungary, then it was Romanians.
Yeah.
Hello. Family considers themselves Hungarian.
And you got the Czechoslovakian.
I'm
and you got the
Polish
Czechoslovak.
and Lithuanian. My family thinks of ourselves.
You got the
We
Congo.
got Russian, we had USSR.
Ukrainian and Russian, depending on what you want to call it.
Oh, you good.
You got Zaire.
This is my thing on the back of me.
Yeah.
And now you put this. And put the grid.
All righty. Okay, so thank you very much. It was a fascinating historical thing. We're moving on to downtown Skyport. This is about the pilot that was done that increases capacity with the change in the operating hours for tour, not for corporate, just for tour. And we welcome back Stephen, Robbie. Well, only one of you are here.
Robbie's not here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like myself, that's yes.
That's okay. And our team from EDC.
Yeah, I just want to introduce myself
Please
really
do.
quickly. I know Diana was set in the agenda, but I'm actually your colleague. I'm Angie Espino. I'm an assistant vice president for the government and community relations team. I usually cover Queens, so this is all new and exciting to me.
Welcome back.
Yes.
And I'm joined by my colleague Mary. If you want to introduce, or maybe they already.
I've been on the phone. I've never been in person, actually. Mary Clark, Assistant Vice President in Asset Management at EDC, the Fourth Waterfront Transportation Division. I manage the aviation portfolio as well as the East Midtown Waterfront. And so excited to be here in person for the first time.
Mary, which ones do you manage? I apologize. Can you repeat?
So I do JRB, I do downtown Skyport, East 34th Street Heliport, and then I do from like Stuyvesant Cove to the heliport.
Oh, the
Just on the east side, just north of us.
Correct.
At border, by waterside.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes, north
You
and
mi-
south of
You missed the
Waterfront.
best part of us. Come on.
Fine, get where I need to go.
There you go. Well, thank you very
And the
much.
gentleman,
And the gentleman is Steve Spinell.
no,
Yes.
we know him.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you guys again. Last time you saw me, I have a little bit brownish hair. It's turned blondish now, so.
Yes,
It's been too
exactly.
much time to teach, apparently. So nice to see everybody. Steven Spell, head of policy and partnerships for Skyports. We, in partnership with Group ADP, operate downtown Skyport as part of the concession agreement with the city of New York. So we work very closely with our colleagues at EDC, of course. Yeah, happy to dive right in if you'd like.
Yeah, but I will say you missed the one really funny thing. You could have said I've been standing out at the edge of Pier 6. I'm a drone pilot also, and that's why I'm.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Robbie spends more time at the health board than I do, so.
There you go.
At least I might be something purple.
Yeah.
That'd be okay.
Yeah.
So, Tammy, if you don't mind.
Yep, just say next and we got you. There you go.
All right, so just a refresher, right? So what was the purpose of this pilot program? So originally back in, I believe it was January of this year, we came to you guys with this proposal to extend the operating hours for airports specifically. So not general operating hours, just airport flights from 5 to 7. So when we took over the facility, we signed a new concession agreement with the city of New York. EDC reduced the hours by 2 hours in that evening window. So what we were proposing was basically reverting back to what it historically was. So that's that operating window that you see there, 5 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and importantly, no airports on Sundays. That remains in place. So, what was the purpose of this? Well, really what we're trying to do is prevent what's called bunching, where we have a lot of helicopters taking off in peak sort of demand windows, right around sunset, when a lot of folks want to jump on a helicopter and get those really amazing photos to post on social media. So one of the ways we think we can do this is by spreading out our operating window over a greater number of hours. Now, keeping in mind, we're not increasing the cap of flights. The cap remains in place. It's just that we're expanding the operating aperture, if you will. So we believe, and this is after 3.5 months of data, so keep that in mind as we sort of proceed through the presentation here. This is limited data. We don't have a full 9-month data set to work with, but we think what we've seen so far is very encouraging. So again, just as a reminder, you guys, CV1, requested that we provide sort of this interim update at roughly the halfway point. So we're really at 4.5 months now. And what we're going to show is 4 months of data. I'd love to be able to show you August's data. We don't have it yet, unfortunately. And as an additional reminder, the data provider that we work with, who does all this analysis and really pulls out the noise complaints and then attributes those to specific areas of the city, whether it's CV1, whether it's somewhere else, that is a different company. So that's Plain Noise. That's a third-party service provider that the EDC has contracted separately to sort of manage that data on our behalf. So we're not the ones who are analyzing the data. We're just simply receiving it and then providing EDC. You can advance to the next slide. Okay, so big picture, the results suggest that at least thus far, we have not seen a meaningful increase in localized noise complaints, aka noise complaints attributable to CV1 specifically. So April and July, nearly identical to last year in terms of noise complaints. May, less complaints, and June did not result in any new complaints whatsoever. The other thing to point out here, just to sort of like drill down a little bit more, and I can talk more about this in just a second, but there is quite a bit of noise in the data in the sense that we have a single household, won't say who, but more than 90% noise complaints being made are attributable to a single unique household. So that really brings down the numbers when you look at in the aggregate. It's a lot less noise complaints when you pull out that one household. And then the other thing to call out is New Jersey still remains, unfortunately, a meaningful source of those noise complaints. What we're trying to do is reallocate those flights back to our facility, because one of the things that we talked about with you guys originally was how do we reallocate those flights back to New York, where we exercise control over their routes. And there's very strict fly neighborly procedures in place. So that's big picture. I can drill down a little bit further on the next slide in terms of like numbers, but I just want to pause there in case you guys have any questions about that slide.
Sure, I do. Go back one. That's an eVTOL. Are you flying those?
Right, I should have called this out. Thank you for pointing this out, Tammy. So, back in April of this year, we were fortunate enough to host Joby Aviation, one of the sort of leading OEMs or aircraft manufacturers who are focused on rolling out these aircraft that you see here, completely all-electric aircraft, up to 100 times quieter at glide path when you compare these to helicopters. So super excited about that. We're all sort of, fingers crossed, waiting for Joby to, say go and the FAA to certify these aircraft. They're not yet ready to fly. However, that demonstration went really well. We hosted them over, 2 weeks. They conducted a lot of flights from our facility. They had the mobile charger set up, which you see there on the left. And this is all sort of in anticipation of where we're going at JRB, right? We ultimately want to have all electric flights because they're quieter and they're all sustainable. So, getting rid of any emissions associated with those helicopters. time will tell as the FAA sort of progresses through the certification process, but again, we're hopeful that that will be relatively soon.
Okay, next slide.
I have a question.
Oh,
Are
sure.
there complaints through 311 calls?
Yeah, so everything's submitted through one. We're not like relying on FAA's data. That's like a separate source. This is NYC specific.
And that's why you can't pinpoint if it's your helicopter or vehicle versus the ones from Jersey.
We can to a certain extent. So when a noise complaint is submitted on 311, we can actually correlate based on the time of day, based on the flight path of the aircraft taking off from our facility, whether or not that aircraft was more than likely to have caused that noise complaint, right?
And
We have
plane
seen-
noise, oh, sorry.
We have seen that data before, but you didn't bring it.
So we have all the, any data you would like, we can provide.
Mhm.
This is sort of just like the high level executive summary, but we have 4 months worth of data that we can provide to you.
So the high level considers, what you just explained, that these are just for your aircraft.
Correct, yeah, taking off from our facility. That's right.
Oh, well, so when you say, the big picture, it hasn't produced meaningful increase, do you mean increase complaints about your aircraft or increase overall?
Attributable to folks living in CB1 that are submitting 311 noises.
But not necessarily your aircraft. They could be complaining about the New Jersey aircraft.
Potentially, that's something that happens quite a
Okay.
lot, actually.
Okay.
Plain noise, just to jump in, plain noise does a 30-mile radius
Yeah.
status updating of all of the flights,
Mhm.
that come in and out, and that are from Linden, our heliports. So they're able to, as part of the data, they're able to really drill down into which flight caused this complaint and, correlate that way, so.
And just to clarify what you're reporting, and you report all the complaints or only the ones that you've attributed to your own aircraft?
To helicopter noise
Helicopter.
within the city limits.
Yeah, I think
Well, I'm asking a slightly different question.
Yes.
So I understand it's helicopter noise in the city, perhaps in CB1. But when you say, let's say we had 10 complaints over 10 hours. When you say 10 complaints over 10 hours, okay, I understand those are in CB1. But are those 10 only the ones that you've attributed to your heliport, or do they include ones that you attribute elsewhere?
Yeah, so we have like the broader picture, sorry. That includes aircraft that we suspect are originating from New Jersey heliports. That includes Linden, Caldwell, and Essex heliports, because they're like the #1 source of air force outside of New York City.
West
So-
30th Street,
so
that's how we're able
The
to,
data does capture.
yes.
Those.
So on this particular slide, when you say month-to-month analysis, April, July, nearly identical to last year.
Yeah. So this
The
is-
identity is-
CB1, so the next. slide
I
is-
understand that part, but is it attributable to CB1 when you say April, May, nearly identical to last year?
Yes.
Are you saying that overall, inclusive of the ones that we've attributed to New Jersey, it's nearly identical to last year?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So in the next slide is a little bit more helpful in terms of like the
Because
data.
it's not apples to apples, right? So we don't know if it's just their
Well,
helicopter.
part of the pilot, I think part of the pilot objective from our perspective.
Let's let him get through it, because he's definitely missing data.
Okay.
The last time they were here, they sent us in December 25, there was week to week comparisons, and you had Jersey versus, Pier 6.
No, I was just trying to clarify for Netta that when they were here last time, part of the theory was the overall noise is likely to go down, overall noise, inclusive of the complaints from New Jersey. Because if we can shift the New Jersey people to New York, they're gonna follow good neighbor practices and they won't be as noisy. So, I mean, what we care about in the community is how noisy it is outside. We care less where that noise is coming from. We just don't want it to be noisy.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think like, just to really boil this down though, like, as simple things as possible is we've increased the operating window aperture, which in theory should be more noise complaints with helicopter because we're
Right,
accommodating
right.
more flights.
Yes, I
right?
understand that. And so if you have about the same, that kind of proves your
In many
thesis.
respects, this is suggesting that that has not led to sort of a broader community-wide neighborhood impact. It's still these localized impacts for certain households that are submitting the greatest number of noise complaints.
Yeah, well, that's a separate issue, but yes.
Well, yeah, let's keep going through your stats.
Yeah, so this slide is sort of like, again, like focusing strictly on the data, right? When we look at just CB1 in terms of the noise complaints submitted related to helicopter noise, how did this pilot compare, at least in these first 4 months of data that we have so far, to the historical baseline of 2025? So again, April, May, more or less the same. June, no complaints, and July the same. We don't have August's data yet, unfortunately, just because it's not the end of the month and we have a few more days. But we obviously provide that update once we have it. The important thing to call out here is that only 5 complaints have been directly linked to our flights during that new 5 to 7 window. And they all come from the same household and they all relate to the same aircraft operator who we've already spoken to. So we have 3 air tour operators at our facility, Charm, Zip, and HFS. So this operator we've already spoken to about these complaints, and they've already made mitigations and adjustments to their flights.
Such as what? And Charm,
To
Zip,
adhere to the air tour routes as prescribed.
Charm, Zip, and which one?
Charm, Zip, and Heliflight Services, HFS.
Have the complaints decreased on that?
Who is that Melissa?
This is Andy Rosenthal from Stop the Chop.
Andrew, yes.
Unfortunately, Stop the Chop, we were unaware of the presentation in December, but I did receive the PowerPoint that was presented. I went through the numbers and I think that this data is being spun in a very bizarre way to make the point, or try and make the point, that downtown Skyport is trying to make, but the facts do not support the conclusion at all. And taking the numbers from the December report, I ran the numbers. Complaints were up virtually across the board in the period prior to December that was presented at that meeting. However, the noise complaints, and this is overall, the noise complaints went up more during the 10 to 5 period when the tour flights were happening out of DMH than they were in the hours that had been curtailed. And I think it's crazy to think that by spreading the noise out, by having more noise, more hours of the day, it makes it better for the people in New York City and in CB1. It's just bizarre. We would much rather see, I believe, and I think you would have to agree, if we could get all of these helicopters to be 1 hour a day, even if it was, 1,000 helicopters, and we had 23 hours of quiet, I think people would generally be pretty happy with that relative to what we have now. People that live in Battery Park, little children that I've talked to who can't do their homework after school would have quiet after 5 o'clock. So I think it's absolutely insane. I also find it strange that today Stephen presents this cherry pick data, which is weirdly just CB1. Previously, he brought data which was citywide 311 data. I mean, again, I don't know what the citywide 311 data would show with respect to this, but my sense is because he now has switched the data presentation that he's done it for a purpose. I will give you one more point, which is I use 311 very occasionally, even though I get bothered, every 3 minutes of the day. I only use it very specifically when I am 100% sure that it is a DMH EDC originated flight. When I have submitted those complete with ADS-B flight charts, tail numbers, times, pictures, I get back a form letter essentially saying, hey, that wasn't us, that was New Jersey. So the analysis they present as to whether it was theirs or not is not to be believed, unfortunately. And I want to be respectful, but I've actually had people at EDC confirm what I just told you, that yes, Andy, it was, we do tell people it's not ours, even when we know it is ours. And so I really think that they entered into an RFP process with the shortened windows. There was a benefit, there was a reduction in the increase. It's kind of a weird way to say it, but in the hours of 10 to 5 and using the data, I had to extrapolate from their graphs, okay? So I don't have exact numbers here, but I was looking at the graphs that EDC Skyport presented in December. The increase in
That was
consumer.
before.
That was before the pilot.
Andy,
10 to 5.
Andy, hang on a second. Andy, the information that was presented in that point was information before the pilot was started. And that report that you're looking at was supposedly used as the baseline to for a comparison to see if this pilot would lower the overall number of complaints through the whole time. Not only during 5 to 7, but through the other times. Because the goal that we had been told was that the expansion of 5 to 7 for the hours for New York would help lower the overall complaints. So yes, I will agree with you on one thing. He's only given us the data on the complaints from 5 to 7, but the goal was that all of the complaints would be lowered comparative to last year because.
It's not just 5 to 7, it's our entire air tour operating window.
Okay,
For the month.
but it's not what it says.
Right, so that is a separate point that we pull out just for your guys' awareness.
But the,
right?
but the chart is,
The chart is 5 to 7 only.
It's noise complaints by house. No, it's not 5 to 7 only. It's over the entire air tour operating window. But importantly, the reason why we called that out is we wanted to make sure that there wasn't like this huge spike in noise complaints during that 5 to 7 window. To make sure that we weren't contributing to this like localized impact now, right, of that evening operating hour.
And it's 5 complaints over 4.5 months, is what you're saying.
Over this 4-month data set.
4-month data set.
Just
5
finish my last
complaints
point.
From one family.
from one family
90%.
during 5 to 7.
We thought a unique household, yes.
Well,
Can I-
but the
can-
question, I guess, pursuant to
What
what
has-
Andy was asking and saying is, you're saying these are 311 complaints attributable to CB1 only.
Correct, because that's what you guys asked for. It wasn't like the entire city of New York.
No.
Right, but that also includes any complaints that includes Governor's Island, right? Because that's CB1.
Everything within CB ones, that's just defined on like the
Yep.
geo map
Yep.
online.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Can I
here's a
just
fun
finish
question.
My one very important point here is in the data that was presented in December, which showed the first 9 months roughly of this new operator, the 10 to 5 complaints were up 172% in that 10 to 5 period. The outside those hours, meaning the new quiet hours, they were only up 78%. So the reduced hours that Skyport signed off on a year ago did have the impact that we wanted it to have. And now they've been given a gift of gold, which is they're now able to increase the number of flights. We had successfully reduced the number of flights by reducing the hours. The number of flights did go down during that period, which is wonderful. That's what generally 99% of the citizens of the city want.
Andy,
I'd like
I
to-
believe the number of flights is still capped.
Correct.
So the number of flights has not increased, it was spread out.
No, but the number of flights during the first 9 months from when Skyport took over in April to December had decreased. They were losing business. Tourists were taking Circle Line or doing something else with their money. They were not using the full allocation month to month. And that's why they came to you for the expanded hours. They did not do it because they were generous people thinking of you. They were doing it because they were losing business, which was a great thing.
Well, it depends on how you look at it as a great thing. I'm sure they don't think it was a great thing. I'm sure that the people at EDC don't think it was a great thing that they were losing money in business. But they were still below the cap that they agreed on. So legally, they were still able to increase their capacity. Whether or not the pilot had, they could have increased the capacity if they had the bandwidth during the hours that they were open. So it would have been more helicopters during the regular operating hours. If I understand this correctly, since the cap hasn't changed, it's the same number over an extended period of time.
It's
Which
not.
the whole-
The issue is during their first 9 months of operation, the cap did not change. 29,000 and change, 30,000 for rough rounding. That was the cap. What happened is tourists stopped taking the flights and their volumes dropped, which is what motivated them to come before you in December. That's it. And so the city of New York was being subject to less noise. Yes, they were not using their allocation anymore. That's what happened.
But Andy, that doesn't make a difference. They're still legally allowed to use the allocation that they have. So
That's
if they're
right.
not at their cap, they're not at their cap. So I appreciate what you're saying, but you're assuming that they would never have used their allocation at any point with the reduced hours. That's a thought, but it's not necessarily
We have
true.
data to establish that. That is exactly what happened in the first 9 months of this new operator.
Andy, he's not done with his presentation and I'm muting you. Okay. Keep
I
going.
mean, listen, that's pretty much the full extent presentation anyway.
You don't have
I'm
another
not
slide?
trying to overcomplicate this.
Do you have another slide?
No, that's the last slide. Relatively simple. We have not seen a meaningful increase in noise complaints, and we've not seen a meaningful increase in noise complaints attributable to CB1, importantly, for this group's awareness. And we are doing everything possible to ensure that these localized impacts, where these unique households are submitting noise complaints over and over and over again, we're doing everything possible to mitigate that moving forward. So there's going to be targeted interventions in place, and we're going to work with the community on that, but at the end of the day, we can't make everyone happy.
So, but Melissa's gonna speak, we have the table to speak, I have a couple of questions, and I'm gonna take, 83% of your market was tourism. That's what you presented to us.
Yeah, it remains that 85 to 90%. Yep.
Okay, so that is the primary driver of your,
Absolutely.
of the business. And of the, just curiosity, of the money that you charge, is there a percentage that goes to the city versus to you? What's the breakdown from EDC?
Yeah, I believe it's
42.7% of, so the breakdown is there's a minimum annual guarantee that they pay in monthly installments, and then based on gross receipts per month, they pay us on top of, they true up every month 42.7% of revenues.
You get 42%.
Plus
That
the
goes back
baseline.
into the general fund for
Mhm.
No, the
Yeah.
base is the minimum. It's not base plus 42, it's.
Is it a
It's
base?
whichever is higher,
yeah, it's the greater.
it's the greater of the two.
So for a max of 42.7.
Right.
Right.
42.7.
I think it's 42.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a monthly payment and then whatever the amount is based up into 42.7.
Yeah, it's never more than that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that general fund thing versus going back into the area, which it does not and never has, but we can talk about that. All right, Melissa, before you go, Melissa, is there anybody else at the table with questions?
I was just gonna try to expedite things a little. I mean, I think this was an update. It was a very fair update. People have asked questions. I think we probably could mosey on from this topic pretty soon. I think we're not there at the end, and we will then at that point, I guess, have an opportunity to vote as to whether we really want to see this happen in the long run, I assume.
Yep.
So I just want to point
Is
out
the
that
next-
it's not a resolution we're writing on.
Right.
Also, just a reminder, I mean, you all receive the monthly reports, right, with operations every month. We.
Do me a favor, catch us up. Yeah, that'd be great.
Our fault.
That would be great.
That's the goal.
Mhm.
Don't.
Yeah, no, I've seen one
Since when? Since
since the start
this
of,
year?
since the start of the pilot, I think.
Oh, since the start of the pilot.
And how many more months do we have on the pilot, Steve?
So it's the end of the year, so December.
So December.
Yeah.
Perfect. Melissa, it's your turn.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you, and thanks for this opportunity. So I actually thought it'd be helpful that I read what we sent from Stop the Chop NYNJ and STC Advocacy Fund to the EDC after we learned about the presentation of CB1 that we weren't invited to, and the vote to go into this experimental extra hours, which Stop the Chop never agreed to. We certainly don't approve it. So the questions that we have not heard the answers to yet, but were emailed are: one, what is EDC's legal authority for the change in these hours? Two, why weren't other community boards also approached and presented? Two, we know that sightseeing helicopters from Skyport have been negatively impacting several neighborhoods along the Hudson River beyond the South Street, Seaport, Wall Street, Battery Park, Governor's Island area, which is CB1. Those other neighborhoods would include Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, which is Brooklyn CB2, Red Hook, Brooklyn CB6, West Village, Soho, Manhattan CB2, Chelsea, Midtown West, Manhattan CB4, Upper West Side CB7, Harlem, West Harlem, Morningside, Hamilton Heights, CB9, Washington Heights, Inwood, CB12. Not to mention, don't forget that when the helicopters go down the west side of the Hudson River, they're negatively impacting all the New Jersey riverfront towns. All right, question number 3. We wanted to know, why weren't the city council members who represent all these impacted districts, why weren't they informed and brought to this information? 4, what is the oversight role of the Franchise and Concession Review Board for this change? We actually testified in person when the RFP was going forward. 5, was the new mayoral administration involved with this, consulted on with this change, such as Mayor Mondami or Deputy Mayor Sue? And those were basically the 6 questions that we sent. So I wanted to put that out there. I think it is important, and obviously the heliport is located in CB1, but as I mentioned, the negative impact is far and wide. You all know that across the river, the sound travels right to Brooklyn, and then as it goes up, as all these helicopters go up the beautiful Hudson River, I mean, the noise just reverberates. I'm on the Upper West Side, and I literally can hear the helicopters before I see them. I would say probably 20 to 25 blocks away. And they go up, as you know, they have 3 potential turning points, depending on the amount of money people pay. So some of them do go all the way up past the bridge, the GW Bridge, to Spiden Duyvil, and turn around.
Melissa, we're not talking about the flight paths above where we're going.
That's right.
Bring it back. Bring it back, please.
All right. I appreciate the time. I just want to make sure that you know that it's not just a CB1 issue. And I think it's really important that you understand that the heliport in your district is the source, it's the beginning source of a lot of noise pollution, environmental pollution throughout the region. So it has to go beyond just the 311 CB1 complaints. And we also know, as Andy mentioned, people have 311 complaint fatigue. You just can't all day long.
Melissa, I understand.
I'll leave it there. I think I got my point across. I'll myself.
All right, thanks. So we understand that. Y'all may not have been here for prior discussions with EDC on this and Skyport. We have had large discussions going back and forth when Gigi was still at EDC and other members, and Tara, and Diana, and I mean, for very many years, about the paths and flights that emanate from Pier 6.
Yes.
When this organization took over on Pier 6, it was one of the largest topics we had about noise complaints and how to manage it. We are extremely supportive of the move to electric because we are hopeful, after having seen and been at the demo, which I know many of the people from Stop the Chop were there as well. We are all supportive of that move. That move cannot come fast enough for us. I am also not, so the question for me is really, how does Joby work with Charm, Zip, and HFS to get those on board? And what's our timeline? We were told probably not till 27. The pilot ends in December. You know, if you would tell us, wow, you know, we did see an uptick in the noise complaints from 5 to 7 in the fall. More people were home, kids, whatever. But good news, we're flying, you know, eVTOL starting January 1. This is going to be a no-brainer, right? We're not going to be having a lot of conversations on this. The other question that I asked, and I don't see an answer was, do Charm, Ziff, or HelloFlight at all use on-street third-party partnerships?
Not to my knowledge. I can get back to you with definitive answer.
Robbie.
That would be great.
So tickets.
That, yeah,
That's a big problem.
it's a big problem.
Yeah.
We know that there are,
You mean like on the greenways?
Yeah, and so like by Battery Park City, like the.
right, exactly. So one of those, I did see a Skyport guy under an umbrella just north of the pier who was selling tours, but I don't know if he's part of Skyport or not. He's sitting under an umbrella just north of Pier 6 on the
Okay.
Esplanade.
Not to my knowledge, we don't own any Skyport umbrellas.
It's a blue umbrella sitting at a little box with a chair that says tour flights.
Okay, we will absolutely look into that. I'll get back to you with definitive answer.
Okay, so the question for us to understand when you come back, obviously, take a look at the data you shared with us when you asked us about this, because it was really detailed. We'd like to see that when you come back.
Sure.
We'd really like to see, I know that you can control Charm, Ziff, and HFS in terms of where they fly, because their contract and your abilities with EDC to control that. They're only flying over the rivers, so they're, yes, it's a helicopter, yes, it's over the river, but yes, it's also on the agreed flight paths. So I think for Stop the Chop, if you don't like the agreed flight paths with EDC, that's a conversation that should be had with EDC, because they designated flight paths that went not over land, goes over water, and we had it as part of the presentation the last time that they were here. So I recommend you taking a look at that YouTube. There were plenty of videos on that, which maps and things, which I was very grateful for. And I guess, you know, in the questions of anybody else for tourism and corporate, do you have the same rules for corporate, even though they're less, they're like 10% of your business?
No, so the airport routes just apply to airport flights.
And none of the corporate do fun, hey, let's take my CEO and their family up for a tour.
No, that would be in violation of our airport agreements. So they're not like doing, sidebar agreements at our facility.
All right.
And I just wanted to clarify, I'm so sorry about this. It looks like we sent May and June. It looks like maybe the wrong email address. MAN01@CB.
It just might not, that's us, it might just not have gotten
Okay.
followed up, but
So that's
we'll
really-
find it.
So sorry,
We'll find
not
it.
the intention, and
It's okay,
Need it
so
as-
when you
as
find
shared.
July, send July and August along and we'll forward everything to everybody.
absolutely.
Are there any other questions from anybody else? And please let us know if the pilot is over December 31st, then you're coming in January with all the data? Does that sound right?
If you guys prefer for us to have all of the data, it probably makes the most sense when we get it. Correct.
Yes, comparison year over year. The reason we asked you to come now was it was recognition of Sail 250.
Yep.
And FIFA, and how intense the opportunities would be over that.
So by January is February better.
Yeah, January should be fine.
But if the pilot is over in December, what's the process after that? To either say it isn't working or you want to make it full time? So what's the process? What do we do?
That's an EDC question.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you all know, we have our new president and that we're onboarding. And so I think once we have the data, I think we'd have to regroup internally with, everyone up there and share that.
But I mean, we don't want to wait until January and all of a sudden it's like we're being
Yeah.
told the program is permanent
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So
That's
the
fair.
question that we would like to do, and please tell me if we need to do a resolution about this, is that when the pilot's over, we'd like to have input and discussion before it's like, okay, yep, we're done, you're good.
Okay. As opposed to just keeping it going and.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
That's
happy to
very
have that
valid.
discussion in January and then even follow up after that with
Yeah.
some sort of permanent decision.
Yep, and if Deputy Mayor Sue can do anything to get eVTOLs at that airport at any point, between now and the end of the year, you'll have a lot of people cheering.
How much do they cost?
A lot.
I know.
Oh, I don't know.
Anybody have anything else?
I just assume EDC's perspective on this is if there are huge numbers that come in the next 4 months, you're going forward.
It's a
That
business.
no matter
it'll be a
what
business
community
decision,
board one might
policy.
say or others, is that the, okay.
It's a business decision, policy decision, but we came here and we, in good faith, and we came here before we started it to get your feedback and had that resolution, and so far it looks pretty good for us, but we're gonna wait and see what the data says, and we'll come back in January.
And I'm just gonna put a shout out that we'd love to have a discussion with EDC, and I know you're not the right to make this call. But the discussion that we wanna have is about the money being portioned out to stay local. Because the problem that we have around that general area is because the Parks Department is significantly underfunded, and we're not getting the revenues that are generated on the piers to stay in the neighborhood. And that's been documented. So I'm happy to have another further conversation with you on that and how to work with that, and happy to have, the folks from Skyport. They'd be happy if the Esplanade was nicer as well. So, there we go. All righty, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Anybody have
Thank you for your time, really appreciate it.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. So thanks, everybody. The next thing on the agenda is the HPD Fair Housing Strategy Report. So there is a strategy report that is out.
I think Alice sent it to everybody.
I think we did send it to everybody.
It was linked, yeah, maybe it was sent out as well.
Yep. Alice?
No,
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't it to me. Yeah, I did send it to you, but I didn't.
Well, I think it's-
Yeah, September first, I get that, but I
Okay.
stacked it.
So the issue that we have with this lovely draft report is,
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, so,
thanks, Steve.
thanks, guys.
Okay, the issue that we have, the reason why we have to make this announcement here and get it widely distributed is this topic will be heard in, I believe, land use in September, but the public comment period ends before the full board. So it is impactful, and it does have commentary for what will happen in our district specifically. So what we really need is we will be distributing this to everyone. And we will be hoping that everyone will tune in, whether in person or online, to the land use meeting where we'll do a resolution and do what we normally do. The resolution will be voted on actually in land use and then exec. Because emergency wise, we won't have time to wait for full board, and then full board will ratify it. So it's a little bit different because it's gotta come faster, but it's the only thing that we can do.
What's the date for that?
Let me find that date for you.
There's also a video that they present this.
Yeah.
In the same email that was shared with me. I don't know if it went to the.
14th. Let me,
Land use is the 14th.
I didn't say it.
No, but did
Fair
they give a
housing.
deadline date? I think
Hold
I
on.
saw that.
okay, so. So, George gave the presentation. Public comment is only open until Saturday, September 19th. So, it outlines the total amount of housing HPD believes should be produced in CB1, including the number of affordable units and the depth of affordability of all new housing for the housing. It's an important piece for us to weigh in on. There are 2 upcoming public briefings. There is one tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon, and another one Wednesday, September 2nd at noon. So, I know that Martine is gonna go tomorrow. So,
Did you send that?
yeah. Yep.
And I saw it, but do we have to sign in to go? And is it?
You have to
also-
register, yes.
But is it also online, or do we
There
have to
is
go in
this
person?
video online.
They're,
No,
right,
this,
Goes through
this,
the presentation,
So
but
you-
it's not live, so you can't ask questions.
no, but the meeting tomorrow at noon, is it online?
it is online, yes, it's all.
Can you
virtual.
send that to?
Yep.
Can you send that to all of
Yes.
us?
There's a link in the document right there.
Yeah.
Did she send an
We'll send it all out.
And what was the other question? All right, so that's tomorrow at noon. When is the land use meeting?
Land use is the 14th. So can you kind of go down by slides just to show? So you can see this here. This is why we really don't have any time on it. We'll share everything out there are 2 virtual public briefings. They have office hours if you want to chat with somebody about it. And then they're just gonna do the final report. It's a lot. And I think that it's really important to go take a look at it and to understand more than just the PR piece that they have for what they're looking at is the assessment for how things are in CD1.
Has George been working on an update on this? Because he did give a presentation to land.
It would be something that comes in September. Do
I
you want
mean,
that?
I'd say, and I'll have to talk to him. You know, is it something that you would like to have happen there?
I think
I think there's additional information to what he presented last time, yes, but
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be additional information to what he presented last time, but let's talk to him.
Yeah, and with my team, so we'll.
Yeah.
Let me set that.
So I'm gonna have Onej fast forward to page 29, and the reason is this talks about growth cohorts, right?
How does City of Yes and this work together?
Just put it to you this way, it's not helping us, because when they're looking at growth, right, and they look at 101, which is us, they say we have high growth. But
It's not.
the problem is, it's not affordable housing.
No, it's all the conversion.
Right, so it's housing production, and it also doesn't look at the loss. So there's nothing looking at any amount of loss that we've had. And that.
And have a huge loss.
And we have huge loss.
Right, and that what we're gaining is.
So
It's
if
like
you
this
can
is
go
silly.
down 2 slides to
I'd
31,
love to know
there you go. Limited
how these
affordability.
rentals, how this conversion and what the occupancy rate is in the stuff that they've converted.
What do you mean?
I converted 2 buildings. I have now 1,000 units. They're all market rent. I've only rented 200 out of the 1,000. I want to know what's in there.
I mean-
What's empty?
Jeff,
A
Yeah,
couple of comments. One in reaction to that comment is that, as you can kind of see in looking at this report, this is really more. It's like a PowerPoint version of an actual report. You don't know where the data comes from. There may be some allusion to it, but I would really like to see the underlying analysis that generates this report. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, okay, so here are the CB1 recommendations at the top here. It's not as if they went district by district and said, oh, you need 5760 new units and 1440 of them should be affordable.
Right.
These are all based on formula that they are applying to each community district. And
Yes.
so, for example, high growth districts, which ours is defined as, because of the numbers of units that have increased over whatever the time period they measured them over, automatically are assigned a 10% growth rate. But because we are also a low affordability district, they up housing by an extra 25%. And so if you see that 5760, that's simply 10% of 4608 increased by another 25%. The arithmetic takes you there. And then they've determined, as to every single one of the districts, including ours, that a quarter of the new housing should be affordable. And that's where the 1440 comes from. It's just a quarter of 5760. And of that, I think it's 30% or whatever has to be deeply affordable. And then half of the deeply affordable has to be for formerly home.
right.
But how do they tell you?
And my only, that's all, I mean, all of this is laid out in this report, but my point in going over this is if we have specific critiques of how it applies to our district, we need to be cognizant that we are implicitly saying your formulae are no good. And so we need to say that, because they're not gonna go district by district and say, oh, well, we're gonna make an exception to the formula in your district, but they may be more receptive, well, perhaps they will be receptive to that there's a further correction that needs to be done, taking into account, local factors and so forth.
Yeah.
But my only point is, these numbers, it's not as if they went through every single one of these community districts and analyzed what they need and came up with these numbers. They looked at these things, they came up with some general policy formulae, and then they applied them as they applied to the districts.
But again, do they tell us how to achieve this?
No. No, they don't. And I think that's something, and now they allude to other reports that are being issued that are outgrowths of the city charter changes on approvals and so forth. And maybe there's some aggregating report somewhere that says how you're supposed to combine these together and how in the world are we going to get the 5760.
So that's where I was going
Yeah.
to go, that they are expediting these projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to know which projects they're expediting. So if we are a high growth neighborhood, meaning that more of the projects are going to get reviewed with the city council. So they're not gonna fast track them, meaning that the fast track projects, the community board and city council have less of a say in what's gonna happen to them. So I think it's kind of, what do we want as a board? Do we want to have more say, or do we want the city to expedite these projects without input from us?
That's right.
So which one do you want?
Hello. Well, but I think the problem becomes from City of Yes. They allowed the provision that we fought so hard against. Like people looked at us and said, you voted against City of Yes, you don't want housing. No, we voted against City of Yes because there was no guarantee that the affordable housing would stay here, that it could still get offset, which we heard from one of the developers.
Well, at least we have affordability goals now in this that are supposedly for our district.
But
Right.
look at what they are. I mean,
Right.
as was well shown in the development of 65 Franklin and 101 Franklin, right?
Right.
Where we saw and wrote a very, I thought, powerful letter to Richard's assistant in this very point, that it was a limited affordable area. How could the planning commission allow the project to go forward? And one commissioner.
Well, that was before this report, so maybe we have.
Limited affordability was already recognized.
The point
No.
of City of Yes is creating housing, doesn't say low income
That's
housing.
right.
New York is short on housing, period. It's
Yeah.
not just low income.
No, but this report now is advocating specific affordability goals for each district,
Right.
which is something we
It's
didn't have
deeply
before.
affordable.
Which is great.
Yeah.
We need this. The key here is where are the teeth to ensure that we get
Yes, well, that's the
economically
question,
diverse housing.
exactly.
And,
Question.
how do we stem the loss? That is something that they've not done, because I don't really care if we add 5,700 units. I've already just lost 28.
Well, that's another comment that this goal should be existing plus that equals the total that we're going to get.
Exactly.
And so that we don't lose 10,000 and add 5 and we're actually
Which
down
is-
5.
Which is where we're at now, because they've
Yes.
said, oh, but you've added 500 units affordable housing, so you're not on the list. I'm like, but we lost 2,800.
Yeah.
And it might be crazy, but if there's any way to reverse any of the housing that we have lost, that say newly lost, that could be quickly
Yeah.
converted back. I don't know if it's possible or not.
You know what?
It depends on the building.
It depends on the building, and it depends, like Battery, right, Battery Park City Authority has an ability that they could
Yeah.
determine on the rentals to make them, even if you made them stabilized,
Right.
right, at current,
Right.
that is a better situation for community
Exactly.
growth.
Exactly.
And those are things that, like, I would hope that the authority was willing to do.
Especially when they're talking about aging in place.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And actually, a couple pages back on this report, if you read the whole thing, it actually does say that it calls it out. It says.
One of the goals was to age in place. Yeah.
It says the problem is that it's older adults, people with disabilities, and children are the most vulnerable to rising heat, and there are also the biggest disparity in housing.
Mhm.
right? And it says New Yorkers living in poor quality are also those less likely to call 311 to get improvements. So, you know, there's a lot of things that they talk about, including the fact that, which we've seen through the it goes all the way down to the homeless shelters that we have. And that there are people who decline vouchers because they can't live in homes in the neighborhoods that they want. So when you're building new shelters in high value target areas like ours, and then you tell the people who live there, they have no chance of staying in anywhere in the neighborhood because there's nothing affordable for them. They end up, there is a percentage that ends up back on the street because they'd rather do that than live someplace so far away where they know no one and they don't know their areas. So, you know, we're not actually helping people find stability and maintain stability either. So, I mean, there's pipelines at all ends that need to be fixed. Because this is such an important thing, you can stop sharing. I wanted to bring it out here. I will share after this with everybody, so everybody sees it. I think it's critical that everybody arrives at land use educated on this, having read. So we'll share that out. Okay?
Just remember something, when you do all of this, the city doesn't give priority to the people in the community. When they build the housing, they no longer give you priority because you live there, that you get to move into that house.
Can we advocate for that?
Oh, yeah.
They say, yes, there is some level that they can, they have done it, they don't like to do it.
And they haven't done it recently. They've been fighting it.
Because it's like 5, we've been asking that if, when they build 5.
Yeah, but, you know, look what you got to say. Hello.
Yeah. So here we are on district needs.
Okay.
And the goal is to be out of here in 28 minutes.
Okay.
And I also have a new topic, we discussed it just Christmas.
Okay.
I can just get 5 minutes to table.
Our biggest issue in licensing is Maxwell's.
Yep.
Okay, right, oh, that's, I mean, that's our, that's the real one. And, they should be, aren't they coming to the meeting in September?
I'll be curious to hear if they come to the meeting in September because they sued the neighbors.
They sued them?
They sued the neighbors. Instead of fixing the problems. I saw it in the newspaper.
I didn't, I mean, I've been away.
Now,
from-
remind me where they're located, where are they?
What?
Yeah,
okay. They're really horrible.
Susan, where are they again? I can't remember which one.
Onej knows, but they're, what's the address, Onej? Do you know? What?
Yep, 130.
Oh, okay.
And it's just terrible.
They are not a helpful and good neighbor to the people who live
right above them.
Maxwell's.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Outside? Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of take a look through and let's see how fast we can buzz through these. There was the new market site, which EDC, especially with the change of leadership, it still needs to stay. And the agency supported it, so I don't see any reason that we would remove. I would leave it exactly as it is.
Yeah.
Same thing with the next one.
That is, yep. Next, hold on. Research potential along the East River for community open space parking space. Agency supports but cannot accommodate. Again, I am of the belief that the agency supports it. And they can't accommodate it because they don't have the budget, you leave it because it leaves the door open for public-private partnership to solve it. But they could potentially, they've said they support it. It may not be in this budget, but if there's a tiny bit, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to change the way this works. Because There is a get down from the Brooklyn Bridge Beach. But there's a locked gate and there is never any access. To be able to, there's nothing, zero, not one day in the last 5 years that beach has been open. For anyone. So how nice did they say that they have a locked gate that allows for access in coordination with Parks and EDC? There's never been anything open, nothing.
The other renovation repairs, that was what you're saying, that the gate's locked, is that what the issue is?
It actually needs more repairs now due to storms.
So what do you
I'll-
want to do?
I'll get pictures and find and walk the space, so in September, you can have a more defined what needs to be repaired. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
And then we can request. Yep, it'll be modified, it will be repairs and programming.
Yes.
Who's in charge?
Parks.
My favorite group.
Mhm. I think we stand a chance to actually get it in next year. We have ideas. All right, this is HPD. Supports and can accommodate. They agree that we need additional affordable housing.
Well, put it in again, maybe they'll accommodate it finally.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to be able to say more than.
They're gonna
100.
give it, they're gonna give us 100 gold streets.
That's right.
Well, it says, create new income restricted housing, but it's more than 100 gold. Mix of family sizes, there are 100 gold's only 9% families.
I thought it was mostly shelter, studios.
Yeah, it's 90%.
Yeah,
Studios
mostly
is 100.
studios.
Staff individual with land use
Young people
consultant.
live down here.
Mm,
Yeah, we keep that, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Weren't the committees supposed to review these in the committee and then feed
Some-
back to executive?
Yeah, some went, these are the ones that came out of exec that cross over into another committee. So the one about the receiving rights. Yeah, we didn't get their person to reach out, so let's put that back and include it. There's definitely ideas for that.
I like when the agency doesn't understand. I think that's very good.
So there's, we can tweak it.
What's they not
We
understand?
can rewrite
Yeah,
those two to, I'm happy to do that, to rewrite those two so they're clear. I don't understand how they wouldn't understand any
Right.
remaining air rights from current,
Oh, please.
abandoned and ghost piers.
They said they're not
We
understand.
published the website, which I'm trying to pull up, that shows all the air rights that are available. This just came out like last week. I will share it, and it shows some of those piers that you were talking about.
Yeah, if you can send that to me, I'd really appreciate it. I know that there's like 200,000 square feet of air rights above the new market site.
So that should be land use, and when you're sharing it,
Yeah.
share it to everybody in that committee and.
Yeah.
And leadership, yeah, that'd be great, everybody.
That area.
Yeah, you still don't have to remain in.
Yep.
Thank you.
I love the fact that they don't want to increase our budgets. If we go down to the next one.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, shocking.
We're all shocked.
Yeah,
Chanel cost of living.
please. I think the budget should be increased. I think the chair should be paid. I'll advocate. for it.
No, yeah, I already spoke about it.
Alright.
First time I just said, so,
That's why that's. there. Anything
You
else?
should give you a stipend from food.
No,
no, I,
yeah.
well, no, I mean, it's a real problem. I mean, it has nothing to do with, one of us making money or not. It's really, the problem is that you can see that it attracts a certain group of people that can afford not to be
I say
paid,
that
and this is a problem. And it's a big
Yeah.
problem on many, many
Yes,
levels. not-
yes, yes.
So anyway, that it is something they're aware of, and I've been told they're working on. So it was somehow not allowed to work on. Yeah, well, I know that, but anyway, I do that, but I'll pursue that. Anyway, I just wanna,
We should pick it then. When they have
You know,
meetings.
looks like.
Okay, so we're done with this.
No, finish. Let Alice finish her
We're
thought.
done.
Say it.
That's, I'm saying, let's stop the share because we're done with this for fair housing strategy and the.
I just realized this is the only, first of all, big thank you to Tammy, big shoes to fill, and we'll talk about all that as we go forward. I mean, I'm gonna do my best. I'm not really gonna need your help. I really thank you already for patience and ability to work with me. You know, it's all new, sort of. And just a couple of things. So, you know, obviously, we're starting in September, so nothing's really gonna change. September, October, November, December, I'd say, let's just assume things are pretty much the same. I'm tweaking committee. I've talked to Jeff about this. I think I got your approval on this one. And I also spoke to Rajiman.
Yeah, I want to.
Quite interested in the idea of branching out the Battery Park. So it's not just Battery Park, but it's actually a slightly larger jurisdiction and really begins to look at World Trade Center campus. So we can really begin to advocate for that campus and things that haven't happened yet on that campus, i.e. Tower 5 and the park itself. You know, there's this acres of land that, you know, one could argue might be better utilized and other things. So I think that'll be really interesting. And if there other things come up that have a sort of jurisdictional state or federal aspect that we think need attention to that, if committee will go. I'm very hopeful that we can encourage membership to look at that committee as something that's more now than Battery Park City and has some major issues that at the World Trade Center that'll be interesting, so that we can also have more membership on that committee. So that's just a small change. I think everything else will basically be the same. In parks, I think we're going to look at open space as a concept rather than just parks, open closets, parks and open space. And, you know, a couple of small tweaks, so we'll work on the website so that it reflects that. And for now, there's no chair changing, although we are, as you all know, losing 17
people.
Most of, well, yes, I will be changing EPC, but 17 people will be going and many of the chairs are here. So the biggest job, one of the most important things right now is for you all as chairs of these committees and co-chairs to begin to identify people in the new world and people like Pam who are, if you're interested in stepping up, let it be known to me and to Jeff and to whoever, that you're chair of your committees, that you're interested, because we will have to fill in here. I mean, there's no question. And it's now is the time to begin to look at.
And to recruit people that you know.
Good point. Thank you, Susan.
That
Yes.
the people that you know that you think would be an asset. In, you know, in your building, in the neighborhood, whatever.
But there's 17 empty seats now. It will be open. You know, that's a lot of positions. So it is really, you know, an amazing time.
Nope.
No,
all
17 people
on the
are
same
gone.
date, we're all going.
Yes, next year.
So I'm like, I mean, you know, for those of us who are staying, it's a little bit of a panic moment. So I'm gonna be really hopeful that you guys really find the people that can work with you and can take over these committees. And, you know, I'll do the best I can in helping navigate that, of course. So that's really the big stuff. And I don't think there's, I mean, please feel free to call me. The cell is out there, whatever I can do to be helpful. I would like that at this first meeting in September, and I think Betty, you're first up, if you would go for it. You could, I'd love that you, everybody, all of us, engage the new members and all the members of your committee with the question, what would you like to see on the agenda for the next 11 months? Because that's what we've got left. And write them down. And if you don't mind, type them up or whatever you want to do and share them with me and with Zach so that we have a record of this. It's helpful because you get thrown stuff that's just sort of automatic, but sometimes what is the bigger picture? What would you like to achieve this year? Why are these members on the committee? I think that's a good question to ask. I'd love to see, I know that Tammy and I wanted to see this all year, you know, more participation, more interest in what you're doing. You know, otherwise, why are we here? So if you could spend a little bit of time doing that at the beginning of the meeting, in addition, of course, to the budget request, which seemed aligned, like what's the big picture? And that's it. So that was all I wanted to say, and thank you, and I look forward to working with everybody. It's pretty much the same thing, but
And I'm
different.
gonna warn you, please do not yell at Lucy or I when she returns and the attendance reports come out. I got yelled at by people who got ding letters last year. It's a way that we help people understand that we want their commitment to the community board. Hmm? Yes.
Yes.
Always sign in.
Always sign in. I mean, if we're voting on something, we have you, but it's always good practice, I think. But so just like know that it's part of trying to make everybody, it's not a, oh, you've been a bad boy or you've been a bad girl. It's about, please understand, if this committee isn't working for you because this date and day doesn't work, then maybe let's find you a different one.
Well, it's people coming on time. Onej knows. I mean, we struggle with it and they stagger in or they don't come. I mean, all of that, it's making people.
Problem, I mean, the borough president is extremely aware of this as a problem, and I think will be a little bit more proactive on this very point. In other words, the patience with somebody who has missed the 3 meetings according to our bylaws, which is not, then you're outed. That's gonna start being taken a little more seriously. So I think Lucy's report should be taken seriously. If you're interested in staying, and you're not showing up, obviously this group is a part of it, but I think look, there are evidently many people who for some crazy reason want to do this. So let them do it, and the people who don't want to do it anymore step down. It seems really logical. So anyway.
So I have one question on 9/11.
Oh, yes, I meant to talk about that.
Oh, okay. I just want to know when we're supposed to meet as a community down at the site that we're designated
At the survivor tree.
at the survivor tree.
Okay, so here's.
Is it 1? Is it 3?
I'll just say one thing. I am gonna ask that Tammy and Mariama, who have been doing this for many years, are leading the show on that. Obviously, I will be there and will be also helping lead, but Tammy this is very dear to her heart, certainly dear to all our hearts, but and Zach has all the information, but go for it, Tammy.
So here's this year's change by the museum. This year's change by the museum, they will have a 7th moment of silence, which is a new thing. If you remember, for Pam who wasn't here, we fought to get on the site that the community who helped rebuild Lower Manhattan should be honored on that day. Because we were here and we all returned, many. And those who came in later, again, it's, if you lived here, worked here, went to school here, survived here. So it took us 20 years to get on the site. We got on in 21, we got on in 22. It was amazing. In 22, they said, we think we can do this better. So in 23, 24, and 25, they took over what we wanted and said, no, this will be uniform services and community in the Glade. And so the event that we had done for 2 years got booted. They said, but you can meet at the survivor tree. So for 3 years, we met at the survivor tree because the difference between honoring those who are gone and having a name read and honoring the over 8,000 who have passed since then is very different. And we share a community is about people and working together. So we don't want to be silenced. We speak or you don't speak. It's a point to gather to say, we miss the people we've lost, including several people from our community and our community board, former chair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we are all still here and we're so excited to still be here. We are excited to be here with the people who are around us. So that is the point of gathering at the survivor tree. They canceled the other thing at the Glade because they're doing a 7th moment of silence. So what they're doing is the public will, not the public, the community who has signed up, who has that email from the museum, will be able to be on site at 11. They will do the last moment of silence. It's usually somewhere between 12 and.
No, here it is. It's 1 p.m., the 7th moment of silence following the names reading. The 9/11 health victims, and at 1:30, community board 1 moment at the survivor tree, which
I just
Zach
had
will
to know
push
what
out
time.
again.
When did that come?
Yeah, but I have to sign.
You're not gonna be gone. I know we got an email.
Okay,
So,
great.
And you
So-
have to have your.
And
And you take your little phone with you.
right, and then it opens, if I remember correctly, at
What was that sent out?
1:30 survivors.
yeah, where did Zach send that from?
I gotta tell my.
If it's a miracle I have.
Oh, August 14th.
August 14th?
It was.
August 14th?
Yeah, there's,
I just
if you
sent-
click the
tell my
link to
neighbors.
the email, it's Thursday, August 13th.
I'm sorry,
It's
Pam.
on Mendoza.
Pam, it was August 13th?
Yeah, August 13th, from Mendoza, Christopher Mendoza.
Right. You
Oh,
have,
look,
so
it's
everybody
there.
has that. Whose office?
Christopher Mendoza's office. I think this is on our drive. The letter's on our drive.
That's right. Thank
And as long as you have it.
So that's the whole thing. You have to-
1:30, right?
1:30 at the
1:30 at the Survivor Trade.
That's
Okay.
right.
It's kind of funny because I know they're saying that it's 1 o'clock for the seventh moment of silence, but
About. Approximately, it says.
yeah, I tend to think it'd probably be earlier because they've never gone that late.
Alright.
They've never gone that late before. The reason they're saying 1 o'clock is because of the amount of dignitaries that are expected to be on site.
So be there.
So, yeah, I would say I would not be there any later than noon.
I think that's right.
Because I really believe that it'll be called before that.
I don't know why those things.
We need new pens. Would you like to give me?
I wanna talk about Christmas. Christmas calendar.
So I think that's,
Thank you.
No problem.
all right.
Thanks.
I will tell you, Alice, you
And then
will
it's
have
Russian
a
donut.
there is stuff about cannabis, which is a committee thing. It'll come in, yeah, that'll be fun. In September. Yeah.
Be my favorite.
Are there any other issues or things that people want to, I know that the date in December for.
Yes.
Oh, Vicky, I'm sorry. Apologies. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
I hate that question when I'm in the room, by the way, so here I go doing it. I wanted to go back to attendance. I know I've spoken to you before and I've spoken to Alice about this. One of the problems that leaves a bad flavor for a lot of the members are the monthly meetings where it literally goes off the rails. People don't come to committee hearings. And then they come in with all kinds of debate questions, and we end up staying 4 and 5 hours, which is completely unacceptable. Okay, we have to go to work the next day, or have children or pets. And I've asked before if that can be reined in. I think a 3-hour meeting is perfectly reasonable. Okay, 3.5. But I don't want to go home at midnight, no matter what. I'm only one stop away. It takes me less time now than to get to John Street, but nevertheless, what happens is that it gets, out of control and not reined in, and that's what makes a lot of people go, no, I can't do this. I can't commit that kind of a time. So I would really encourage. I've loved everything except for the monthly meetings that go on and on and. So anyway, as a timer out next spring, I'm just leaving this on the table. It's very important. And then, the borough president wants to take attendance and give, 3 letters. Yeah, I understand the whole process, right? But, we are volunteers. And so being respectful of our time is mandatory in order to keep good people on the board.
Well, Vicky, I couldn't agree more. I know Tammy certainly tried very hard, and I will also, so we'll do our best, I'll do my best. With Jeff's help and everybody else's help to keep those meetings moving along. It is in everyone's interest and always has been, so I appreciate that comment very much, and I certainly will try.
Trying to help.
All right. Awesome. Anybody else? Have anything else?
Is it my turn?
Yes, Pat, your turn.
Just want to discuss the December calendar. When is school board meeting in December? Is it the 22nd? I think you said yes.
Yeah, I think that's where we got the notice.
Right, I don't know, is anybody else traveling in December? Maybe it's just late. Yeah, and that it seems late, because then it means that we have to be traveling
closer to Christmas where tickets are more expensive and the airports are insane. Is there any way to move that meeting up to the week before?
I mean, obviously there's a Ray, but you have to move the meeting. The question
Am I the
is
only
that-
person that's concerned?
I mean, do a lot of people feel strongly that like have that they want to traveling on the 26th, you know, they want to be not having a meeting on December 27th. Obviously, we've discussed this, I know this brought this up.
What did Lucy say?
Mine here, we discussed it and we went back and forth. The only other date, if I'm not mistaken, was the 17th.
So what day is it?
It's
Yeah.
22nd.
If I don't know, I didn't bring my calendar.
Okay, so right,
22nd is Tuesday.
Yeah.
The 22nd.
I see.
And it's, if we have a meeting that night, it means you're traveling on the 23rd, 24th, 2 days before Christmas, which is crazy. Tickets are expensive and the airports are ridiculous. I'd like to get out of town on the 19th. You
I don't
know?
blame you. I don't blame you, but I always stay in town on Christmas.
Me too. So
So
I
it may
can't-
just be a problem I have.
well, here's the problem, so everybody pay attention. The first Monday of the month, we never have a meeting. The first Monday of the month happens to be the second week. So there's no meeting that day, December 7th. I say that because environmental protection currently is December 21. And the full board meeting is the 22nd. What we have done in the past is condensed all the meetings.
Yes.
And so, environmental would move it on the 7th, put it on the 7th. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know why we would do that.
And as you said, if there are any meetings to cancel, if we can cancel any meetings, if no one has any topics that are like.
So December will be not 22.
Well, then do you want to do it? That's the question.
Just
How
the
about the 7th for what?
21 is that it? On the
No.
9th, there was environmental protection, we just canceled that, so we could do it on that.
Then it would be a Monday
On
or,
Monday, the 21st.
Can you live with that?
I mean, if I have to, well, I want to be here for the meeting, so I can also board meetings, but I really wish it could be the week before.
you could do executive set, you could do executive 5 if you wanted and. Or at 5:30 or at 6, why not push full board back? And then
It's smushy.
That's what we, I think that's what we did in
My
20.
concern here is just so you understand from my perspective, remember, this is my third big meeting in December. At which point is when in January, the new changes will begin. So I wouldn't mind a little time to discuss them in executive, but if, I'm not, we got out really clear, I just want to make sure we have enough time to. do
Why don't
everything, but I'm
we
sure we'll figure it
cancel?
out.
I mean, unless there's something really urgent, why don't we cancel quality of life, which is Wednesday, 16th? You know, I mean, you know, I hardly ever cancel any meetings. If we have something really.
No, we don't have to cancel probably right, we just.
Last year we did, quality of life and
Exactly, same night.
And then quality of life had not a lot going on and it did cancel. We're looking at what happened in December.
Oh, and
last
we had the
year.
monthly meeting on the third.
And then we had, right, so we condensed the crap out of the month. But I'm sorry for that.
That's such no way you're looking at me. Really?
It's up to you.
And then the 17th would be available, would you?
I mean, I would need executive for the reasons that was described, because of some of the changes.
So the 16th, we could do exec. I just think you're gonna find a lot more people on the board that are not here who will be traveling in the month of December for holidays going home. And it's the work, you don't wanna be at the airport the week of Christmas.
What? Who cares?
So
That's
this
not a big.
is what's being proposed. We'd like to do this.
My mother used to say, bad mother.
It's usually.
That's how I was raised. I was raised.
Get chocolate.
I
That's all I ever got.
Right.
I never got a gift.
No, you're not supposed to. It's chocolate. That's a newfangled thing. So no one else, Pam? You're not traveling, Chris? Nobody's, only me.
I say here.
It's only me.
No,
I used to
I
stay
agree
here.
with you. I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I feel you.
I used to stay here, but now that my mom's dead, I'm traveling. I'm going to my sister.
Now that you have some extra time.
Now that I have time, exactly. All right. One.
Thank you.
First down.
Yay. Great, great, great.
See, my first that happened because I was gonna skip that week because I gotta do college pickups.
See, all right.
Jason Friedman, my gosh, you're here. Hello.
So
I
what's
vote
happening?
yes. Can we get all the meetings done in one, the first week? No?
Very cute.
I just wanted to say hello.
Hey, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Done.
All right.
Anything else to say? Hi, Vicky.
So what was decided?
So
Oh,
the
I got
17th,
I'm
I'm trying to
I
come to
don't
the
know the
meetings
answer.
to say hello to everybody. I promise I will not be coming to all the meetings. But just to say, and if you need me, let me know, but generally speaking, you're on your own, but I will try to come to these early ones just to sort of, get to know everybody and see the new members on site. But I'm sorry, just tell us again, so we're having full board on the 17th?
Yes.
Okay. And then what
And
else?
then
we
the
doing?
rest we'll deal with.
And exec will be the 16th on the same night as quality.
Okay.
And environmental protection will be the first Monday.
And you will be going, quality of life will be going in five o'clock. I mean, there are people who will. That's fine. That's just-
Well,
yeah,
well,
you do.
well,
You can, I
well,
can.
well,
Let's not share the request.
Well, I think- why do I use this one?
Yeah, but you don't have to. Okay, great, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. All right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn, 8:31.
Yes.
Nice job.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
job. Good job.
Happy August. See you in September. Thank you very much.
See you in September.